The Michael Hatfield RE team presents Real Estate and More.
Bay Area real estate is different than in all of America. And why? What's up with home buyers? What's on sellers' minds? How is the market? And much, much more.
Now, here's your host, Michael Hatfield.
Welcome back. This is the Real Estate and More show, and I'm thrilled you're joining with us today. We are excited to see repeat guest and friend who is a former United States Congressman. He is here to continue our previous discussion on issues affecting our nation, such as appointments, immigration, inflation, crime, and the economy. Let's call this episode The State of the Nation, Part 2. And this is a conversation you won't want to miss. We're going to take up exactly where we left off last week. Please join me in welcoming back the Honorable William P. Bill Baker.
And so our number 2 problem, which is overspending, is going to come down not because we're cutting back on government spending, which we have to do, but because we're going to increase the growth. And I'd like to just inject the last time the budget was balanced. Newt Gingrich went to Clinton in about 1996, 95, and said to him, we're going to only allow 2.8% growth in your federal spending. And Clinton agreed. And so the trajectory of spending came leveled off, and the increase in revenue continued. And so within 2 years, the budget was balanced. And President Clinton has run around the United States now talking about how he was the only president in the last 100 years to balance the budget. And it wasn't voluntary on his part.
Well, I don't care if he took the credit for it, just as long as it's done. You know, it's so important that we at least attempt to balance the budget instead of just printing money. If you've got a printing press for the US dollar back there and you're just printing money, the value of what you print, at some point everyone's going to say, okay, this is paper.
And then the value of the bonds underneath that.
Yes.
And China used to buy a ton of our bonds because they were so reliable. Well, once you start printing money, like you say, and they're worthless, then no one wants it. So you're gonna see changes with President Trump demanding that federal workers come to the office. Yeah, we'd like to see you. What have you been doing? And you're going to find a slowing down of the rate of spending, just not from slashing budgets or kicking pregnant women off the food stamps. We're going to do it by slowly squeezing, and you're going to see a tremendous change in the budgetary practices of the United States, and it'll be healthy. Too much of our resources are spent on government.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people think that the Federal Reserve, their lending rate that they keep coming out and everybody's watching is the equivalent of a little bit tacked on as a margin, and that comes up with the mortgage rate. Well, it is, but it isn't. The actual mortgage rate, the 30-year mortgage rate for real estate, more closely follows the bond. So the question is how do you keep that bond at a very low level so that you in turn can get a mortgage loan at a reasonable rate? We have seen the mortgage rates put a damper on who's buying homes. More people are renting because they do not want to have to afford to get the loan, or they can't, and then every month they have to pay the payments of that. Well, you know, it's interesting. The better that our economy does, the less that the bond is going to be, because the 10-year bond is more closely where the mortgage rates come from. So if you bring down the 10-year bond, then the mortgage rates come down, then you've got more of a vital housing market.
And by not spending more than you take in, you're going to have a realistic interest rate.
You know, that's always been my problem. I always try. Good thing that I've got a good woman that just says, "Hey, you can't do that. You can't buy that because you haven't earned the money as of yet." But it's really unbelievable. So the American dream. Well, immigration.
I think you're starting to see the American dream right now as he talks about the golden era of America is coming. And I think once we balance these things, balance the environmental, balance with the economy, all of it has gone to the environment, none of it to the economy. Now, there is a balance between the two. If you overregulate, you're going to have a weaker economy. And so you're going to see a change the other way, where the economy's number one. And number two will be the environment, because you don't have to pollute in order to make energy. And I think we're going to show that.
You know, I had a young person that's very close to me criticize the immigration policy that is currently going into effect. And the reason seemed to be mostly because she felt that the American dream should be available to all. Our entry into the United States for most citizens in the past, it has been a little unwieldy, but the one that has happened in the last few years has been over the top, too loose.
Well, there's two things wrong with that loosening. We used to have about 1 million legal immigrants each year, and that was based on the number of deaths in the United States and the number of people leaving. So we were replacing ourselves each year with legal immigrants, but they're looked at for their diseases, for their backgrounds. Are they murderers? We have 25,000 known murderers have been let in over the open border. There's no excuse for that. And, of course, some of them continue their trade here. Most of them do. So now the INS is rounding them up and shipping them back, and it's a wonderful thing. They're a threat not only to us but to the immigrant population too.
Yeah. You know, the confusion of this young person that I like very, very much is that you're taking people that want the American dream that are entering illegally and stealing it. And that's not essentially what I believe is happening. I believe that if a person wants the American dream, it's like getting an airline job and you're coming from a poor family. You want it bad enough, you're going to get it. Getting American citizenship, if you're a legitimate applicant that wants the American dream, you can get it. But not people that are stealing it, that are the 25,000 known murderers, as an example. You don't want those here going after, innocent citizens as well, right? Tom
Homan and President Trump are focused on those who are violent criminals, and they're rounding up about 1,000 a day. So they're doing a tremendous job in purifying our country of people who are dangerous. And I think you're going to see us get back to that. We'll allow in 1 to 2 or 3 million, not the 10 million that they allowed to pour over. When you see people lined up at the southern border and you don't vet them, you don't even know who they are, you're asking for trouble. And I think we're going to go back to the original way of having a well-documented border where people can come and apply and we can take them in. We can only take so many and still maintain our economy.
Yeah, it's not that we're holding the American dream back from anybody. It's that the people that are into the country need to be citizens, good citizens, not people that are, a detriment to society, that are not good. You want people that really are not. They're not frightened of working and producing like I have. I've worked all my life, and I'm sure you have too as well. And if a person isn't working, but yet they're receiving welfare and they're receiving a way around, that's like charity. I mean, it really. So that's what my thought is.
Give them a phone, give them health care, give them everything. And where does that come from?
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
RE/MAX.
The Real Estate Minute with RE/MAX expert Michael Hatfield. Bay Area housing markets are always changing. What should we think of that, Michael?
You know, Mark Twain said, "I seldom saw an opportunity until it ceased to be one." We live in the greatest housing market in the nation, but careful thought should be given each time one buys or sells a home. A good agent can help you grasp a great opportunity.
Tell us about discount agents, Michael.
Discount agents can list your home, but without telling my secrets, they're unlikely to do all we do for clients. It's an unnecessary risk to save a few thousand by hiring a junior agent and lose tens of thousands through a poorly done transaction. You don't know what you don't know. It's wise to hire someone who does.
If you or someone you know is interested in buying or selling a home, call the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team at 925 925-322-7775 or go to michaelhatfieldhomes.com. When your real estate needs are beyond the standard and you demand more than the status quo, look no further than the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX Accord team with offices in Danville and 9 more Bay Area locations. Here's Michael Hatfield to tell us more.
Do you have a housing problem, such as you live in a 3-bedroom home with 3 children and need 1 more bedroom? You want better schools, or your kid's grown up, moved out, and your home is just too large? Our team is a 5-star agent who serves our clients' housing needs as our #1 priority. Call us for a free buyer consultation to start working on your housing problem now. Let us help you to solve your housing issue, whatever your need may be.
Call 925-322-7775 to partner buyer or seller needs with the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX Accord team. That's 925-322-7775.
Now, back to our show.
Yeah.
So I think if it's to live the American dream, that we can't become a welfare state. Mm-hmm. And kids are taught that in college, that this is the way to go. It's never worked anywhere. Didn't work in Venezuela, didn't work in Russia. It hasn't in China. It's just horrible. You're rated on whether your loyalty to the Chinese government is pure. So you get a red rating if you're bad, and a yellow rating if you're in between, and green if you follow slavishly their policies. But their policies are atheist. You can't believe in God, or their new religion now, is it Falun Gong?
I don't know.
They can't do anything but worship the state, and it never works. And Venezuela is a pure example. They've taken a very wealthy Latin American country and turned it into a garbage pile.
I think that I believe that you, as well as myself, we want good things for this country, and I can feel the love of country coming from you as we talk. Whether or not you agree with everyone or they agree with you, the ability to discuss certain important topics is critical. I mean, you got to be able to discuss topics without closing the door and closing your ears, because a closed mind in a lot of cases is like a closed parachute. But I feel...
Can you remember the time when you couldn't question where COVID came from?
Yes.
And if you mentioned it came from the Wuhan lab, you were a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, that's bad.
Now they just accept it. No, sure, of course it came from the lab. And so we were cowed for 4 years as people told us, you have to think this way. This is like the red, yellow, and green system of China. And God bless Elon Musk and X. He's opened it up to all thoughts. And that's so important. That's what the framers had in mind, that you could say anything you want. And I don't mind hearing liberals. That's all they hear in college. That's all we hear in the media.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that, as long as we have a right to rebut it.
Yeah. Well, interesting the way our government is set up and structured. You got the House of Representatives, which is 435 members, of which you were a member for 2 terms.
The People's House.
Yeah. And then there's the Senate, and it's a balance. They only have like 100 members or so, is it?
Yeah, it's a nice place to visit. You wouldn't want to work there.
And so it's interesting how it all works, but I hate to say it, but it all starts at the top. When you go into an airliner to go from point A to point B, you are putting yourself in the hands of the crew, and that crew is run by one person, and it's sitting in the left seat. And if you listen or you do what you need to do to be part of that operation, you'll find that you're in safe hands. If you at any point have a leader, whether or not you like that leader or not personally, that is a person that can do the job and do the job well, then you're going to be better off. And that's what I think we're seeing here now. Not everybody likes people from Jersey or anything.
65% of the American public like what President Trump did before he took office and after. So these new appointees that are being beat up by the Democrats in Congress, it's essential that they get approved, because you want to shake things up. If you're angry about the way the FBI was spying on President Trump after he was elected, if you want to straighten that out, then Kash Patel's your man. And we have to do the same with Tulsi Gabbard and her defense posture, because she actually was a member of our armed services. She was a Democrat congressman, and they hate her because they think she's a turncoat. So she's going to have the hardest time to get approved, these two. But as we found out with the defense secretary, it can be done.
Yes, and it's good that it's all underway. I feel so enthusiastic that things are looking up for the United States of America and the country that we live in. So
this is a little bit overused, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So I apologize for using that, but it points it out that if we continue the big government philosophy, we're going to run aground. We're going to run out of money. We're going to run out of economy, and people will be talking about replacing the dollar as the instrument of the world, and they'll talk about replacing the United States as the leader of the world. We had a guy living in the basement that no one could find, and it hurt worldwide. Now they're lining up. President Trump is going to meet with Xi. He's going to meet with the head of Moscow, and he's going to get things done because that's what he does. He does more before breakfast than I do all day.
Yeah, he's a very active guy. I have a question. Who actually decides on foreign aid? How has that process worked? I mean, how does it work?
Unfortunately, it comes from the State Department, and they put those numbers up, and they talk about how important it is we support this dictator and how important it is we support that dictator. It really isn't in our interest. I voted against foreign aid my first term. The second term, the folks from Israel came to me and begged me to vote for foreign aid because they got $2 billion. Now it's $3 billion. And they spend most of it at Boeing, buying planes and defense equipment. Wow. So we're recycling the petrodollar when it comes to Israel. But that takes, like you said, was it 75 different countries that are sucking off this foreign aid?
175.
175, I'm sorry. Rounding error.
That's fine.
So all of those billions have to be reviewed, and the president has agreed to do that, along with our domestic spending. Mm-hmm. We just can't continue on and expect a different result, and that's why these appointees are so important. They're going to open up the process, and so people will say, why are we giving this dictator money? Well, it's because they had a tidal wave and they killed a lot of people, and we're helping them. Let's see a real reason for giving people money. Otherwise, keep that money at home and let's rebuild America.
Yeah, and get the money in the hands of the citizens of the United States, the people that work, the people that want to work, the people that want the American dream. I think it's just incredibly important. Do you think, Congressman, do you think that the budget will ever be balanced?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it will be, and within the president's first term, and this is his last term, of course, but I'm looking forward to President Vance. Uh-huh. But within the next 4 years, we will balance the budget, and it's because of things like showing up at the office. Probably 10% won't want to do that, and so you're going to have a natural evolution and a lessening of spending. And when he starts reviewing, and the people start reviewing, like Elon Musk and that little cost savings thing they're going to do, when they start looking at how our money's being spent, they're going to find lots of ways to trim.
Mm-hmm. What I'm interested in is how much that they will end up printing each month the way that they were printing money before. And then now suddenly the dollar will become more and more valuable, which is kind of an interesting concept to me.
If we take the pressure off of printing dollars and borrowing, you're going to see an economy that'll be very healthy. Wow. And it has to be done dollar by dollar, program by program. So when somebody says, oh, they want to get rid of the Department of Education, well, how much education is being delivered by that giant bureaucracy in Washington? None. And the same thing with the FBI. When Kash Patel says, I want to close down the building, he means he wants to take those people and put them out in the field.
Yeah.
Let's protect American lives, and let's spy on somebody other than an elected president.
Yeah, and the citizens that are legitimate people exercising their American dream. I can see.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
There's a shortage of Bay Area homes for sale, and you've been watching home prices rise year after year. And now your home is worth a great deal more, and you're thinking, time for something new. Why not sell before interest rates and market conditions change everything? You'd like experts who can help you get the best deal possible, negotiate on your behalf, and work hard to ensure a smooth transition. List your home with us. If you're buying or selling a home, call us now.
Working with Michael and Nancy, I was a first-time home buyer and I was very nervous about the process. I didn't really know what to expect. Michael and Nancy were able to take that fear away from me and answered all of my questions. They were right by my side the entire time, and they really helped me find the perfect home for me, and I'm so thankful.
For excellence in real estate, call the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team at 925-322-7775 or go to michaelhatfieldhomes.com. DRE 01493761.
Now, back to our show.
That. Something I don't know a lot about is foreign policy. I'm the first one to admit it. What are your opinion of the changes in the U.S. foreign policy as we're moving forward?
Well, it all starts with that Make America Great theme. If we put America first, then we'll go out and begin building relationships with folks that want to help us. Mm-hmm. And so whether it's England and Europe with the energy, if we can give them energy at a cheaper price, they're going to benefit. And so are we, because we're going to drill it and sell it. And of course, the American government gets a real nice slice of that, because some of it is, like in Alaska, is going to be on national land. And so America will be getting a nice slice of our increasing the energy. And it will decrease the expenditures too that people have to pay at the store and to run a business. Just in real estate, you've seen the disaster of rising interest rates. We call politely inflation. But by spending more than we take in, we either had to borrow or print, and both of those caused inflation. And so your prices have put people out of the real estate market. So your business slows down. So guess what? You pay less income tax because you have less income. That's not healthy.
It's a circle.
No, it is. And the same with home building. They're not building homes because people don't want to pay 6 and 7% interest, so they stop buying. So the homes aren't being built. The carpenter isn't working. The grader isn't grading, and the whole thing unwinds. And so when President Trump talks about rebuilding America, that's what he's talking about. And the water in California is just an example. He opened up the pipelines the other day to supply water to Southern California. Well, the farmers in the middle of the state take a portion of that and reduce the price of our food supply. So, yeah, we've got to get the economy going. And by adhering to this Green New Deal, we've essentially cut our economy.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, as I mentioned before, had one of the best attendance records, and that's a big deal, from like your terms in Congress. It was just absolutely wonderful. And I'm wondering what it is now. I bet you'll see those that room start to fill up again, and the members come into and start doing their job. And that to me makes me feel really excited. Do you have any thoughts that you would like to put out there as a conclusion today, sir?
Yeah, let me just start with California. They said, well, we don't have enough money to fill a reservoir and rebuild it and get the water to the fire hydrants. Yet they held a special session on how to fight President Trump. And they wanted to spend $50 million or $500 million. 50 fighting President Trump. What is that all about? I mean, the state, are we going to withdraw and start our own bear flag republic? No, they make poor decisions. And President Trump, I'm sure, will talk to our governor as he's talking about water and sharing the wealth of the water. I think he's going to talk to him about priorities, and that $50 million is a nice savings right there. You don't have to fight President Trump.
So you never get anywhere fighting all the time. It's just a real hard deal. So.
I served under President Clinton, and if I had the same attitude that the liberals have now, I'd have boycotted the White House. I'd have done this and hold my breath till I turn blue. It would not have helped our relationship. And I don't know him well, but we got along fine. And I think the same with Willie Brown in the state legislature. I would like to say, friends with Willie. We didn't agree on anything. But in order to get things done, he used to call me and say, hey, I think it's time we talk to the governor, as they were fighting in the press. Oh, this is a terrible budget. And, how can the Republicans cut like this? They're starving everybody. And we'd say, oh, those big spending socialists, the Democrats are ruining the state. And then I'd get this quiet phone call. Hey, Bill, I think we should get together with the governor. And they'd set up a meeting of the leaders of the finance units of both houses, of which I was the assemblyman. And so we'd get together and work out the final agreement. And it happens every year like clockwork. But if you were just watching the press, you'd swear that we all hated each other and we're very close to starting an open war. And it wasn't true. It was theatrics.
One of the issues that I have is when the media does not cover events. And let's just take the Swannanoa, North Carolina event. I knew that they were struggling out there trying to help these people. And then winter comes, there's snow on the ground. One such story that I heard is that there was a donation of 100 mobile home-like structures that were delivered. 25 of them were used, and then the county said, nope, these are not permitted, you got to move out. So it moved those particular victims of the hurricane back into tents with snow on the ground. That to me is just it's
bureaucracy. Do you remember when the president said, you have the authority, Mrs. Mayor,
yes,
the mayor of LA, you have the authority to do it now. Well, I think they can get back on their property within 1 week. 7 days, what's wrong with today? And President Trump lashed into her, and this is the same thing. If you're there and we haven't approved that mobile home, then we've got to have an environmental impact report. No, you don't. That's a home, and people are needing homes. So we've got to do things based on the priorities of the public. And I think our taxpayers are going to begin finding themselves in the driver's seat these next 4 years.
Oh, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
Well, I can't say enough of thank you to Congressman, and I share his enthusiasm, and I'm hopeful that all will work together to making the best for enhancing, improving, and making the American dream better.
Thank you, Congressman. I am so grateful you've been on the show today to hear your viewpoints and your knowledge and your experience talk. We'll be back next week with the next Real Estate and More show. Have a wonderful and blessed week. Please remember to go to our new YouTube handle, My Real Talk Show. That's My Real Talk Show at youtube.com, and touch that subscribe button. You can also find past aired shows at our handle, My Real Talk Show, on youtube.com.